Today's topic is pretty difficult for me because I've been struggling with retroactive jealousy for actually as long as I could remember. Even before I got into my first serious relationship, when I was dating someone, even, like for a really short amount of time, then I would still be jealous over their past partners. Just to quickly summarize what retroactive jealousy is, it's basically a weird obsession about your partner's exes. And it can be, going from different spectrums. It could be whether they had exes or them loving them more than you, or just a weird obsession about who they are, how they look like, and if you are better or worse than them. Just to paint you a picture, I never had a boyfriend. My first real boyfriend was when I was 20, and he was a little older and, with that said, more experienced. And I guess in that way, my retroactive jealousy was fed, and I felt like this is just unfair that I am not his first girlfriend, meanwhile, he is my first partner. And I thought, that it doesn't make this experience of our relationship unique to him. It's only unique to me because what I'm doing with him I've never done with anyone else, but he did do all this stuff with other people, so therefore I am not better than any of them. So it started off as being remotely small. It was just the idea that I don't like the fact that he had different partners, but well, I cannot really do anything about that. But then after we started talking more and more, and whenever he started mentioning something regarding his past, like, oh yeah, I went to Sweden for the summer, or whatever it was, I couldn't stop but just think to myself, did he go on his own or did he take one of his exes with him? And then I start imagining all the memories of them spending that summer in Sweden together, and I think that this is insane that they had, this great thing going on, and they were so in love, and they were making love every night probably, and they just made so many memories, so many months, years together, even, I don't know. And I am nowhere in that past, which was extremely stupid to think about, but also something I couldn't control because I know that we didn't know each other. I mean, we didn't know each other back then. He had like no control over if he could even be with me because we're like, in complete different spots in our lives. But it was just, painful to think about what other things I missed, because that should have been me. That should have been me. I should have been that girl in Sweden, and he should be making all those memories with me. But because he's got all of them, has them with another person, I no longer even want to do that things anymore. Like my whole life, I want to go to Sweden, but now I no longer want to go because then I feel like I'm gonna be the one who wouldn't be able to stop thinking about his ex. Not even him, probably, but mostly just me. I'll be thinking, oh, he is probably thinking about his ex right now. It doesn't matter that it's me. He probably wants to be with her more than he wants to be with me. So, and whenever he would change his emotion, I would be like, he's probably thinking about wanting to be with his ex. And therefore, the whole trip would is just ruined, and I cannot even pick a place that I always dreamt of going to because my boyfriend fucked someone else there. Of course, that was all an example of what was going on in my head, but it started going even worse and worse when he realized that, okay, the topic of partners is not really good. I don't really like talking about that, even though I'm so curious and I always want to ask a million questions regarding them, even though after that I get, twitches and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But my curiosity is just killing me to know everything about them, how they look, Am I prettier? What languages do they speak? And every single detail. There was a time when I was only asking those questions to compare myself and not to actually know more about the person I was dating. But like I said, then my boyfriend realized that he shouldn't be mentioning the exes anymore because it's just not doing any good for me. And instead of learning more, I'm digging a grave for myself. But even though he stopped talking about them at all and I forced myself to stop asking questions, whenever we would go to like a party of his friends or family, whatever, sometimes a topic of an ex would come up, and either like a friend would mention that they did something like a double date together, or anything regarding them. I would just my eyes would widen up, and I would like a kind of like a panic attack. I would just be I was so devastated whenever I heard anything coming from the outsider's mouth. Like, it's so normal that it's normal that friends are friends or were friends with the ex, or at least they knew of each other, they knew each other, and they were going out on double dates because that's what normal people do. But the fact that they knew who he was dating beforehand, and I felt this kind of feeling of constant comparison. I was wondering, is the connection different between him and me and him and his ex? Are the friends seeing those different relationships, and do they see which one is working better? Where is he happier? What girl do they like more? Like, do they talk, like, do those couples talk and are between each other like, oh, I actually preferred Stacy instead of Yula? I see, those are just thoughts that were coming to my head, and I couldn't get them out at all. And one day I would just clean my boyfriend's room, and I would go through all of the boxes just to see what is old, what needs to be thrown away, what should stay. And then I would find a box of love letters from them, and that was just my last straw, and I just couldn't bear it anymore. I couldn't stop crying, and it took me many months to realize that I either need to leave or I need to accept the past. I need to change something. Maybe it's not necessarily an issue with me, but more with my worldview or how I see this whole situation. When I first started dating, the first guy I ever started dating, which was, not multiple, but like 2 years before I was dating my first official boyfriend. During the talking stage with that first guy, I remember we had one conversation about his ex. I think I was scrolling on his Facebook and I just saw an old picture of him and his ex on his like old profile picture. And I asked him about it, and I was like, "Hey, I realized that you still have a picture of your ex on your profile. What is that about?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just an old picture, nothing really crazy." And I'm like, "Okay, well, tell me about her," because I was curious. I'm always curious. And he just told me something, just nothing too crazy. And I kind of jokingly, but kind of not, I asked him if, because it turned out that she moved to New York when we were in LA, and that's why they broke up. I asked if she would come to LA, would you get back to her, and would you like stop talking to me and you would just stay with her? And he told me yes. So this kind of changed my worldview completely, because I thought that maybe for every single man I am never going to be a priority because they're always gonna choose their ex. I've been seeing all those videos online and on YouTube everywhere that men never forget their first love. I don't know how true that is to this day. Everybody is kind of giving me a different answer, but I kind of also feel that no human completely forgets every love, because every love is unique, and in some way, you are learning to maybe love another person by taking some percentage of whatever that kind of love was. And I think every love teaches you something, and I think it's good to never forget any of it. But that's not what I was thinking back then. I just thought that men are gonna go back to their ex no matter what. But now I think that if you would go back to your ex while being in a new complete relationship with a girl or boy that you supposedly love, if you go back to your ex, you're kind of a loser. Would you go to something that you thought was better than it is right now? You don't even know the other person at this point because it's been however long, probably long if you are already in a new relationship, but long. And if you're going back, it's just, why aren't we moving on? I think if people want to evolve or in some way grow, then they should explore different paths and different people, even. Yeah, I think being in different relationships is a good thing, because in some way you learn more about yourself, or more about what you want from life or from your partner. And if you're only going to be with that one partner your whole life, you're not gonna necessarily explore life as much as possible. Of course, yes, I am aware that there are high school sweethearts and people who just fell in love once and they never wanted to try anything again, and try anything new, and nothing wrong with that, of course. However, I'm just saying that if you would like to explore life to the fullest, probably you're gonna learn the most from different people you are dating. And some people just stay with the same person not because of love, but because either they don't want to try anything new, they're too scared to get out there, or they're just used to being with another person. And then after some time, you just realize, oh, the spark is completely gone. And the spark is just turned into, everyday abundance, and it feels more like you're with a roommate every single day instead of a lover. And of course, you're gonna feel like a roommate if you live with your partner at some point, but after some time, I had to face the mirror and ask myself, what do I want? And do I want to try working on myself and try solving whatever this issue is? I knew that I have my partner on my side and that he's going to do whatever it would be possible to make me feel better about the situation. He never made me think at all that he is still obsessed about the partner. Sure, sometimes he would say something about them, mention them in a conversation, but it was very rare, and mostly it was because I started it. So I never really got anything from him. I started looking for advice at other people. I went to therapy, and I went to, like older, smarter people like my mom and my friends. And I asked, am I insane for this? And this is how I feel. And it's making me so nauseous to even think about it. And all of them were like, you're insane. This is totally normal. But it just, I feel like I wouldn't feel as bad about it, or I wouldn't be so obsessed with the exes if I had exes myself of multiple months or multiple years. And then just in some way, I feel worse about the situation, or I feel worse about myself because of that. Like, I can't believe that I am so picky with my partners, that I got my first partner at this age, but this man was not so picky and he got with someone super fast and for a long time, and then another one and another one. But at the same time, when I was hearing the stories about when he was younger and what he was doing when he was younger, what his ideas are, where, and what was his like best Friday night plan, I realized that I don't think I would fall in love with him if I met him on that time, because he is so perfect for me right now. But if I did meet him 3 years ago, and he would meet me instead of Stacy, and sure, he would fall in love with me, I wouldn't want to spend my time, and not to even say life, with this man. It's just not the kind of person I am sitting here with and holding my hands with all the time. And I think this is something that I have to thank my, his exes, because after living those certain lives, he got different views on life and different habits and different ways he's like enjoying life that make me want to enjoy life with him. And then, it's just not someone I would be with. I think that was something that helped me the most. Sometimes I like to just brag in his face, how I had some kind of situationship and what guys were into me, but that's just kind of to piss him off and to make me feel better, which is kind of not good. So I'm trying to avoid that. It's mostly on my part work, and yeah, that helped me a lot. But I'm telling you, it took me like 7 months to realize that this is not normal and that I need to actually work on it. Sometimes when you force the thought of it and you start just realizing that this happened and you cannot change that, then it's becoming also so much easier to let go. I think letting go is just such a great thing generally to do. You cannot control anything, and whatever happens, happens. He is with me for a reason. If he wants to go back to his ex, he always can. And what? Look at me. I can find a boyfriend in 2 seconds. I don't really see an issue. So I guess it's also knowing your worth and mm, trying not to be too insecure. However, I do get a little insecure whenever his ex girlfriend from high school is mentioned at a family dinner from his mother asking if she's married or not. Then I'm going to, excuse me, but then I just need to calm down myself and realize that I am so much better.